episode 3 of the podcast, the Online Trainer Show, formerly known as the Online Trainer Show. And we're happy to bring you this episode. We got a lot of important things to talk about. You know what's interesting? I've been shut in with the pandemic. In the South, we call it the COVID, because everything has a V in front of it. That's how you speak in the Southern United States. So I've been shut in with the COVID, and been catching up on a lot of television, including my Lifetime and Hallmark channel favorites. And I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but there's a distinct pattern in these shows. I'm gonna give it to you, and this is gonna cover every single Lifetime, Hallmark, Christmas, New Year's, Hanukkah movie you've ever seen. It's one of two things: a woman who leaves a small town and goes to a big city, or a woman who leaves the big city and goes back to her small town. The first male, I don't know if you guys know, the first man she encounters on these movies is the love interest, 100% of the time. He either owns a bookstore, a quaint tavern, or a quaint inn, and they went to high school together. It never fails. That is the plot. She will give up the big city for the small town life, and eventually end up marrying, or she will give up the small town life and he'll move to the big city. And I've just accurately described every single plot line that you will ever encounter on a Lifetime and Hallmark movie. You're missing
one part.
What's that?
How surprised everybody is by how good looking this woman is when she takes off a baggy sweater, takes out a ponytail, and takes a shower.
This is an interesting, you bring up an interesting point here, John, because the subtlety, the nuance and the brilliance in these movies is that if she comes from the big city, her hair is up at first, and slowly her hair comes down. It comes down into a messy bun, ponytail, into full length. Conversely, if she goes to the big city, her hair goes up. And I think that's important to notice. And as you mentioned, everybody will talk about how great she looks. Carol, I haven't seen you in 20 years. Oh my gosh, you look great. She always looks great after 20 years. The women in the Lifetime movies, they just do not age. It's just a cutting edge methodology of storytelling, which is why I never stop watching the Hallmark movies when they come on, and they never stop coming on. You know what else is cutting edge? PT Distinction. PT Distinction is the cutting edge software designed purely for online coaches to help them save time, expand their reach, and get back to doing what they do best, helping clients get amazing results. And
that was on the code, was it?
Yeah, I actually read that. I'm reading ads today. And John Goodman in his brilliance, he's not as smart as the people at the Hallmark Channel or Lifetime Network, but he has written a few books, so I've heard. What he's done is he's worked out an arrangement for everybody out there, fans of the podcast, both of you, and the folks that are interested in online coaching, online training. He's worked out a deal where you get 60 days of a free trial through PT Distinction. Not only that, he's worked out another deal because he's the master of deals. We all know this about Jonathan Goodman. He's worked out another deal where you can get 50 automated text messages through PT Distinction for accountability with your current clients. So
amazing.
You can find that it's amazing. It's amazing. You can find that deal over at onlinetrainer.com/PTD. And we established last episode that it's a backward slash and nobody uses a forward slash. In addition to that, I'm going to really blow your mind now, guys. If you are a fitness coach, a gym owner, a nutrition coach, and you want to learn the proper way to establish, your online training, you want to boogie on over. You want to ease on over to the Online Training Academy. It's onlinetrainer.com/academy. You can find everything that you need to know there. And there's a catchy line about that I've forgotten. So I'm going to read that later. I'll circle back around to that because I only learned it today. And I am not that bright. In any case, onlinetrainer.com/academy. Fitness coach, nutrition coach, gym owner. If you want to learn the proper way to do online coaching, the responsible way to do online coaching, the most efficient way to do online coaching, boogie over there and let's get you signed up. Jonathan, was that acceptable? Can we start the show now?
I want to sign up again. I'm ready.
Thank you so much, Carolina. Yeah, you're so special to me and very well lit today. You should see the lighting on this. You guys can't see it from there, but the lighting on this podcast is magnificent. You know, I don't know if I'm in heaven right now. I really don't. Jonathan, take it away, sir.
Hey, my name is Jonathan Goodman, and welcome to the Online Trainer Show. Today is episode 3 of season 3, which is, you may have noticed, a palindrome. Now, palindrome episodes come by once every, 10 episodes, probably 11 episodes. The next one isn't going to happen until episode 4 of season 4. So this is a very special episode. And I can tell you that we are getting very good at this. Carolina has a new mic. You'll be able to hear now. I have a light, which is completely irrelevant to you if you're listening to the podcast. Now, today's episode, we're talking about differentiation. Today's episode, we're talking about your USP, your unique selling proposition, where you can set yourself apart and build the life of your dreams. Doesn't that sound good?
This is the Online Trainer Show, Trainer Show, Trainer Show. This is the Online Trainer Show. We shouldn't have a podcast.
That sounds amazing. So we have not as of yet introduced probably the most significant piece to this podcast, the motor to our engine, the mayonnaise that bonds the tuna fish that is this production, and that is Carolina Belmares, or as I like to say, Carolina Belmares. Carolina, are you there? Are you there, Carolina?
I am here. I am very happy with my new microphone because now I can cackle at you at a higher volume. So there.
That's amazing. You sound magnificent.
Thank you. Thank you.
I haven't heard anything sound this good since Stevie Wonder's third album. It's amazing. You'll be the first podcaster to go platinum. I love it. So how was your weekend, Carolina? You know, it's been a little bit since we checked in. Any new things happening in your world right now that we need to know about that's significant?
I feel very put on the spot by this question. So
all right.
I don't know how to answer.
I was hoping you'd feel more attacked than put on the spot. I'll try to drive that a little bit more.
I'm defensive. I'm like, what do you know? Who told you? And why do you believe what you heard?
I think we can all agree that I never know anything about anything. I'm sure Jonathan knows a few things, but I have no clue what's going on.
You got to be prepared for a bit. You got to be prepared with a bit, Carolina. You got to have something prepared for this. This is
okay.
You knew we were recording at 1 p.m. on Tuesday. You had a 3-day weekend.
You know what? I do have something that happened that is fantastic. I was like,
I would love to hear it.
I was determined to not share it because I'm like, I feel like I'm defining myself in a very specific way right now. But you know what? Like, we don't know what we're doing in this podcast anyway. So, what do I know?
Go ahead and define yourself.
Yeah, exactly. What do I know?
Worst thing that can happen is you're pigeonholed into a character that you're going to have to live down for the next few years.
Well, here goes exactly that. And that is terrible because I woke up today to a massacre scene in my living room.
Okay.
I am not joking. My cat. There's, I've told you about this, guys. Like my house is old. I live by the lake where, apparently there's a super happy family of mice that live here. Well, not anymore because my cat took them all the heck out. Like seriously, 3 dead mice in my living room today. You want to hear me scream? That was a freaking scream. It was horrible. It was horrible.
But that sounds like a good thing.
Well, it sounds like a good thing that they're dead now. You know what was not a good thing? Having to clean them up. It was hideous and disgusting. And I'm still shivering. Like I showered. I don't know if you can see my hair. It's wet. I had to shower. It's my second shower of the day. It's just one of those, like, I feel like my skin is crawling and I can't get that feeling off. And it's disgusting. So thank you for asking. My day has been great so far. Thank you, guys.
You got to take 2 showers.
Yeah, that's also amazing because I love showers, but the feeling
sounds like a week and a half in quarantine life. Yeah, I saw this meme the other day. It was so funny. My wife Allison showed me. It was this guy who put on this sock puppet, and was just, I guess he lived on a busy road and it had this window, and the sock puppet would just be eating cars as they went by. And that was just the entire thing.
Saw this.
Yes, like Pac-Man.
This is so funny.
So funny. I don't know what it is about it. It's just like, what does the top say? It's just like day 6 in quarantine life. It's just like this sock puppet hand, just like eating cars. That's
the general vibe right now. I would much rather be doing that than cleaning up dead mice.
Well, let me tell you what happened in my household over the weekend.
It better be worse than dead mice.
It's on par. It's on par, Carolina.
Thank
your
you.
life
I feel
is not
better.
the only one that has dead things or feces lying around. So,
amazing. I like this already.
So I have a 3-year-old, as many of you know. His name's Calvin. He's amazing, especially when he does things like this. Let me tell you what Calvin did. So Allison and I were cleaning up after dinner, as we so often do, of course. And we said to Calvin, okay, time to take a shower. Now, always we say to Calvin, time to take a shower, and then we go up with him and we'll like shower his family, or he'll shower, or we'll take a bath or whatever. Anyway, he decides to take off his clothes and walk upstairs by himself, unbeknown to us, because we're just cleaning up and we thought he was playing Lego or something. All of a sudden, my wife goes up, and not only had he gone upstairs and he turned on the shower and he was taking a shower himself, but he decided to take a poop on the floor in the shower. Now, that's not the best part. That's not the best part.
Why do they do that?
That's not the best part. The best part is my wife goes upstairs, not as he's doing this, after he's done this, because she walked up to the scene. Now imagine this in your head. He had picked up his poop in his hand, walked over to the toilet, and when she walked in, he was in the process of just putting his poop in the toilet, and then he flushed the toilet with his poopy hand. And then he just went back into the shower and cleaned himself up. So I get told about this by my wife yelling downstairs, asking me to bring up the Lysol wipes to disinfect. But like,
I'm kind of proud of him though. Like he handled that. He totally knew how to handle that shit. Like literally.
In that very moment, I realized that my 3-year-old son had rendered my wife and I useless.
Oh my goodness.
He's got it under control.
Wow. Yeah, he really does. He's a problem solver. For sure.
You get dead mice, I get poop all over the bathroom, and a brilliant 3-year-old.
Thank you. I do feel better. Thank you for that.
You got it.
Guys, if you're listening out there, you are still on the right podcast. This is the Online Trainer Academy show. You may have think maybe you dialed onto a different podcast, maybe a child contraceptive podcast, or perhaps an extermination. No, you're in the right place. We cover it all here at the Online Training Show. And, speaking of Calvin's immensely responsible. I mean, the only thing you can do to pivot once you've shat the shower is to pick it up, put it in the toilet, and flush responsibly. You know who else is responsible? The Online Trainer Academy. They provide everything you need to responsibly and successfully coach fitness or nutrition online. So let's pivot a bit, because I don't know where it's going to go after this. We actually do have a topic today. And our topic today sort of revolves around story. In this case, a shitless story. Story, what we call your USP, your unique selling proposition, and your niche, your target area. These things are vitally important to the success of your business. And do tidbits with you guys today about that.
Let's talk about some tidbits, Ren.
Yeah,
we got some tidbits, right?
Yeah, not the same tidbits that were found in your shower, though, Jonathan.
I didn't find them. They were cleaned up by the time I got there.
Sanitized tidbits. Let's give everybody 10 seconds to Lysol wipe their ears really quickly. So we can get you guys back on track here. If you feel a little tired and disgusted about what you've heard so far today. But John, in all seriousness, talk to us a little bit. What's the importance and how does like the combination of USP, your story as a coach, and your niche, how does it help you separate in the online training market?
I think the first thing to talk about, Len, thank you so much for asking, by the way. This is completely unpredictable. I didn't know that you were going to ask. I think
Nobody prepared.
Nobody prepared for this at all. I think the first thing to talk about is how online training is different than in-person training, because a lot of trainers fall into this lull of security with in-person training because they benefit from something called availability bias. Unless you live in a major city where there's tons of other gyms around you, the reality of it is you actually don't have that much competition by you. Most people will only train with a trainer, 20 minutes away max. This is basically what the data shows. And it's not that online training replaces in-person training. It's just different, right? There are certain people who like in-person. There are certain people who are right for online. There are certain people who's right for Zumba and group exercise and whatever. Orange Theory, I mean, pick and choose it. So you're not going to replace that. But what's really important to think about is to say, well, in person, you have location bias, which means that if you happen to be closer than somebody else to that client, odds are you're going to get that business. That's a massive advantage. So differentiating yourself from the market is actually much less important. It's much easier to get that initial few clients to get good results with, to build the momentum with. Once you get momentum, right? Once you get results, once you get a reputation, if you've done a good enough job with like a referral generation system and a retention system, which of course we teach you in the Online Trainer Academy, onlinetrainer.com/academy. Once you get that down, right, and you get your first few clients, what we're about to say and what we're talking about here matters a lot less. But because of course you can take people outside of your niche, outside of your market, if you think that you can help them. Don't think that you're can only work with people who are in your niche. Online is very different. Online, you have to differentiate yourself from every other person online, irrelevant of where you are, devoid of this availability bias. You have to give yourself some sort of an advantage, some sort of a reason for your client to choose you. But also, and this is the part that I think we really miss, and I actually want to tell a story about Carolina Belmaris here, who is my bottom left on my screen, which I just pointed right on my screen because we're on. But I'll tell you a story about Carolina in just a moment, because I think that it's really, really important. Not only does a niche give your client a reason to choose you, but it gives you direction, it gives you vision with your marketing. How often do we hear people talking about online training saying, I'm doing so much, I'm marketing so much, I'm putting out so much content, nobody's listening, because they're just scattering their efforts, diffusing their efforts, never actually hitting any goal, never actually making any kind of an impact. You can actually do a lot less, spend a lot less time if you've targeted your market really specifically. Because once you know your market, well, then it simply follows, exactly where to find them, how to talk, what kind of messages to put out, and what kind of transformation program you actually want to broadcast. If you don't know that and you just say, hey, I help people burn fat, or I help, new moms lose weight, or whatever it is, you're going to have a really, really hard time knowing where to market, which means you're going to do a whole lot of work with very little result. So let me tell you a story about Carolina. Carolina is a Mexican expat mother living in Barrie, Ontario, which is like this completely insignificant, little town outside of Toronto. You don't need to know where Barrie is. Put it this way. If I'm outside of the country and I meet somebody and they're from Barrie and I ask them where they're from, they say that they're from Toronto because they want to achieve some significance. So
that is all lies. That is all
Carolina,
lies. And we have the best mayor.
Yeah, I was about to say, who's running that town?
Who is running that town? What kind of people does the mayor of that town associate with?
The best kind.
Oh my! Oh, we're going down this hole again.
So tell my wonderful story. What did I do? Is it a good story?
What did I do? What did Carolina do? So Carolina understands that what is different. The thing that you have to do is take a step back and say, what is my 1% uniqueness, we call it in the Online Trainer Academy, right? What is unique about me that I have in common with a very small amount of other people, right?
My astoundingly incredible looks, obviously.
Absolutely.
Jonathan's face is like, no.
I think he's elected to no longer tell your story.
I don't know if I want to tell the story. I have a few different stories of people to tell this about, by the way.
Snap!
So,
yeah, back to the podcast.
Back to the podcast that you're all still listening to. So basically, the idea with this 1% uniqueness is, what is your uncommon commonality with a very small yet select amount of people? A lot of people think that when they hire a trainer, it's a merit-based decision. So a lot of trainers then market themselves based off of merit, right? I can get better results. I can help you achieve. I have more certifications. The reality of it is, clients have no idea how to make sense of any of that anyway. It's too difficult for them to. And the reason why somebody buys is because they have a pain and they want that pain to go away as easily and quickly as possible. It's very rarely actually about price or cost. The only reason why it's about price or cost is because the producer, the seller, has done a really poor job differentiating themselves. What Carolina did so brilliantly in this story is she basically said, okay, what is unique about me? Well, I'm a Mexican expat mother living in North America, in this case, Canada. She had already joined a huge Facebook group for Mexican expat mothers. And been a part of this Facebook group for a while, because there's a group for literally every community. This is not a fitness group. You don't have to go find fitness groups, because every single community everywhere needs a health and fitness expert. And if you try to go a place of fitness experts or a fitness group, there's going to be a lot of people like you. But if you recognize that there's a Mexican expat mother group where all of these women probably share the same problems, that is also really similar to you, and you find an opportunity to tell your story, you'll be helpful in that group, you'll have a lot of success. So Carolina, of course, wrote in Spanish her story, right? And Carolina, tell like 2 minutes. Why don't you just walk through your story really quick?
My story was just like a basic introduction of who I was. It was like, hey, this is my name. This is where I live. I've been here for this many years. This is what I found most challenging. And this is what I do for work. And I happened to mention that I do online coaching, and the response was absolutely bananas, insane.
It's such a incredible testament to the importance of this, because you're being a little bit too humble with your story. Like, I translated it. So, I mean, obviously Google Translate is like, it sounded really weird, but I mean, I could get the gist of it. But I mean, you talked about how difficult it was moving to Canada with one child, then having two more here. You talked about how much of a stress it was, learning the language, and, how you took back control of your health, and how that then turned into a business because of your passion. And the way that you told the story was a way that only people in that very select group could connect to. Right? Yeah. You spoke to all of the things that they did. And then what you did is you basically offered I think it was a webinar that you were going to do.
That was some months after. Yeah. You're right. I totally forgot. It's been a while. Yeah. I offered a webinar for sure, on nutrition, like easy, healthy eating, like how to improve your diet, period. And
you had over 800 people.
Yes.
Comment.
Yes.
With their email to register for the webinar. And then, of course, you messaged me and you said, John, what the heck do I do? How do I manage this? And I said, you screwed up.
I did. I totally did.
Because there's no way that you can manage 800 emails in comments.
Right.
Think about what that's done. So Carolina, with one Facebook post in one community, generated 800 leads of people saying, yes, tell me more. I want to listen to you.
Yes.
A number of these people, a good percentage of them paid you. I think you said it was $8. I might be getting the facts wrong.
$7. Yeah. I've done it 2 times. The first time it was $5. A year went by and then I did it again, $7. So the same formula has worked twice, basically, for me.
So that's actually another really important thing, is who to listen to and what to do. Can this formula be repeated? Right? Yep. Doesn't really matter if you can do something once. Can it be repeated? If it can be repeated, it's worth listening to. So she's done this twice now, where these people then paid $5 or $7 to basically go on a sales call with her, that she then converted into her clients and filled her roster with one Facebook post for free, organically. That's the power of recognizing your uniqueness as a person, finding those communities. So it's a way to direct your efforts. She wrote one post. One post. She didn't put content for 3 months to the abyss. She put one dedicated post in one community one time for free. It didn't cost her anything. And these people uniquely then had a reason to choose her over anybody else. I tell the story often about Troy Bennett. I could give you lots of examples of this, but I tell you the story of Troy Bennett because I really like that too. He's in Chicago, and he's the Chicagoland cosplay fitness expert. And I love this because I had to look up what cosplay was.
Right.
Even I know that, man.
I'm old. And so, cosplay, for anybody who doesn't know, because I didn't really know, is basically dressing up in costumes and then acting out scenes or going to conventions and things like that. They're often superheroes or comic book characters and stuff, video game characters, that type of thing. And so there are huge communities of this. So Troy is obviously very interested in cosplay, and he was already in that community, which is like, where do you already hang out? First off, like that's probably pretty important, right? He was already in those communities. And he basically just started promoting himself within that community. The first post he put out, and in his cosplay community, because he had a reputation for it as the Chicagoland cosplay fitness expert, he had 5 people message him to sign up. Didn't ask what the cost was, signed up for his training like that.
Love it.
That is the power of understanding what your uniqueness is. And when I say uniqueness, it's not necessarily fitness. And that's a big misconception. That's where a lot of people struggle. So I wanted to tell those few little stories, but more than anything else, I wanted to really, to anybody listening to this, I wanted to really just light a fire under your butt to take a step back, right? And establish your vision, because really that's what this is. What do we do with our clients? We set a goal in the future, right? Wherever they want to go, 3 months out, 6 months out. And then once you have the goal, you can then start to establish the steps working backwards in the day-to-day activities to make that happen, working forward. And then it's just a matter of ruthless execution. And the interesting thing is, once you actually take that time to set that goal, the steps are actually relatively straightforward, right? When you're designing a fitness program, the sets, the reps, the exercise choices, how many times a week you have to work out, like it's actually pretty straightforward, the nutritional interventions. But if you never set that goal, you could do a whole lot of stuff and you'd never get there. Business is the same way. What is your market? What is your 1% uniqueness? Once you've established what that is, well, then the steps backwards become much more clear. Then your vision becomes much more clear. Okay, cool. Where are these people? Am I already in some communities? Who are influential people in these markets? If you're not already in there, can you network with the influential people in those markets and train them for free in exchange for them telling everybody about you? Right? All of a sudden now, you could train one influential person in that market for free. They post about you once, you fill your roster like that. I mean, you can just say it's the exact same principles to what we talk about with our clients, right? Establish what it is, work backwards, and then just ruthlessly execute and put blinders on for everything else. You don't program hop if you're working towards a goal. Don't social media platform hop. Don't dilute your efforts by trying to do all of these crazy things.
So John, I've got 2 observations and a question for you.
Oh, that's a lot of things.
Observation number 1, for you guys listening out there, Catalina and John are going to send $7 to the first 800 listeners here. We've got $7.99 to go, so there's lots of room for everybody to get $7 out there. Are we talking US or Canadian?
But the only way to qualify is to go to onlinetrainer.com/podcast.
Very clever.
Read the show notes. Make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a review. And we probably won't send you $7, but we really appreciate it.
We won't send you anything anyway.
Probably not.
We'll do that.
Point number
Very
2.
little chance.
John will be dressed as Spider-Man on the next episode, so we'll make sure we live.
I heard that too.
Yeah,
I heard that.
That's what I heard. That's all I heard.
Yeah.
You know what's? Well, I think I wouldn't be Spider-Man because I never really liked Spider-Man. But isn't it interesting looking back at what superheroes and characters you connect with as a child and what that says about your personality?
Absolutely. Because for me, it's Spider-Man.
For you, it's Spider-Man. Carolina, who's it for you?
Wonder Woman, always.
Yeah, it's not a surprise. It's not a surprise. Amber, what about you? Unmute yourself. Let's hear you.
Probably Black Widow.
Nice.
Why Black Widow? What? I don't know much about Black Widow. Why Black Widow?
She's just a beast. I don't know how else to explain it. She's just a force of nature.
Amazing. So for me, it's Donatello from the Ninja Turtles.
From the Ninja Turtles.
And the Blue Power Ranger. Like basically, if you remember, if you're born in the 80s like I am, those were like the two biggest dorks. and like they were both like the book nerds of the crews. You know, they were like the ones behind the scenes that were not as strong. Donatello had a stick.
Pretty much.
Had a stick. Everybody else is like, I have this katana sword. I have these like crazy nunchucks and these spears. And Donatello's like, I'm gonna poke you with my stick. But
pretty much.
And then the Blue Power Ranger was just, I mean, you know, dude had glasses, like, you know, as a Power Ranger. But they were like the really smart, like, people behind the scenes that they snuck up on you. You know, they didn't have to be in front. Mm-hmm. They snuck up on you. But when they showed up, they were like the main guy. They were the main character.
You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of the movie Devil's Advocate. Al Pacino has this long spiel where he talks to, I think that was Keanu Reeves in Devil's Advocate, if I'm not mistaken, where he talks about sneaking up on people. Right. He's like, you know, they see you coming from a mile away, but me, they never see me coming. I'm small, innocuous. He's like, the best way is to sneak up on people. Sneaking up on this, by the way, do you think that coaches don't share their story enough? That's the one real question that I had in that whole diatribe of what I was getting at. Like, do coaches share their story enough, John? What's your perspective there? And then we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that yet. I want to talk about superheroes more. What?
We're off the rails again, folks.
So the other one for me is if you ever played video games, what character did you choose, especially in role-playing games? Think about that. So, because that says a lot about who you are. Were you like the sage who stayed back and like cast spells but never actually ran into the action? Or were you the berserker? Were you like the thug character, like the Wolverine character who just went in and like slashed everybody and hoped that it would work out? Because I think if you actually think about it and then you look at like how you act on an everyday basis, it's like, yo, that's like who I am.
Pretty spot on.
What was the question, Ren? Did you ask me something?
I don't even know what day it is right now.
Doesn't matter. It's a podcast.
What did I say?
This has got to be evergreen. People are going to be listening to this 4 years from now, still getting wisdom.
Well, I think you're being quite optimistic there, John. So if do coaches share their story enough? Like, as coaches, do we give the clientele the opportunity to differentiate us enough? Are we so fixated on marketing and, you know, click funnels and, you know, et cetera, et cetera? And why don't we do that, and how can we do it more? And then we'll wrap it up.
Well, ClickFunnels is terrible, absolutely horrendous software, so they definitely shouldn't be fixated on that. But hopefully we don't get sued for that. We shouldn't, is my opinion.
Nobody's listening, it's fine.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like they heard that.
Like they heard that. Like ClickFunnels is listening to this. What? Do trainers tell their stories enough? No, they think that what they care about is what their clients care about. That's the biggest fallacy. It's the biggest mistake. It's the biggest part where good, passionate trainers fall off is I really like, they can't disconnect the idea that just because they're obsessed with something, their clients do. Their clients are, just because they know something, their clients know that thing. I'll never forget a conversation I had with an old workout partner of mine. He was at that point a pilot. Now he's an air traffic controller. And we were talking about hypertrophy. I was like, 21, 22. And I basically just like connotated to him that he was an idiot because he worked out and he didn't understand the physiology behind hypertrophy. And he just looked at me stone-faced and he's like, what's the takeoff velocity of a 747? And I just stopped and I realized immediately, it was just like, that's what people pay us for. The biggest the worst thing that trainers do is they think that what they care about is something that other people care about. You are literally being paid to make this easy for somebody else because they have a problem that if they cared enough about it themselves, they could probably take care of themselves. It's not like it's a lack of information, right? This fitness thing that we do. It's certainly not. And so do you really need to share stuff to impress your peers? No, I think you need to selectively network with your peers, which means you need to share them. You need to establish who the peers are that you want to network with and share them and celebrate them. But you certainly don't need to impress your peers en masse.
Yeah.
What you need to do is you need to speak to the people who you really want to help, which means meeting them where they are, which means telling your story or a good story of somebody you work with in a way that really connects with them on a deeper, more emotional level. You want somebody to take a step, to be sitting there scrolling mindlessly through their feed or whatever there is, and then just sitting back in their chair. You want this reaction. You want this reaction where somebody just kind of sits back and they're just like, and then their shoulders all of a sudden are not raised up anymore and they just drop down. They breathed out. Say, finally, somebody gets me. That's what you want.
Yeah.
That's what you need. That's why you need to tell your story. That needs to be the goal of telling your story whenever you're selling anything to anybody.
Everybody has a story. Everybody has a story to share. We don't
And
think we do, but everybody does. Yeah.
And everybody thinks that their story is unique and everybody's story is unique to them and everybody's experiences in them. And everybody's analysis and emotional response to their experiences are completely different than everybody else's, because the only way that we feel things, the only way that we experience things is by putting it in reference to something we've already experienced. This is why you can only feel true pleasure when you felt true pain. This is why you can only feel joy when you felt despair. Because the only way that you feel things is making it in reference to something else. So the more that you experience, right, the better you can experience. Well, this is why I travel so much. This is why I live in so many other countries. This is why I read so many books not related to fitness or business. I mean, I just finished a huge fantasy book. I'm in book 1 of the trilogy. Like, the more interesting you become, the more interested others become in you, because the better you can tell stories. This is why I love Ren so much. Talks about what was the artist? What was the album? The third album by Stevie Wonder, was it?
Absolutely.
Like, what an absolutely inane, stupid, ridiculous comment. But talk about like how much more interesting how much more color that gave that story.
Absolutely.
So what Jonathan is saying, guys, is love won't hurt anymore. It's a smile on a friendly shore, a boat.
Ren Jones from Fortress.
Soon this podcast will be making another run, guys. And we promise something for everyone. So you guys just set a course for adventure, your mind on a new romance.
I think I just fell in love.
Training show. Yeah. I think I just fell into something.
Can you slow jam the outro to the Online Trainer Show?
Oh, yeah. You guys have been listening to the Online Trainer Show. My name is Ren Jones. I'm your most excellent host. The host with the bass, the host in the place. The host that doesn't waste an opportunity to love you better, baby. If you want the show notes to the OTA, to the Online Trainer Show, I'm going to have you boogie that body right on over to the onlinetrainer.com/podcast. Again, that's onlinetrainer.com/podcast. You feeling it, baby? You digging what we're dropping? Pick it up, put it back, flush it like Calvin. This has been another excellent episode of the Online Trainer Show. Go over and get the show notes. If you enjoyed this, if you made it through the whole show today, go ahead and click on the subscribe button. We want subscribers. We're still under 5, I think. So if we get to 800, that $7 is gonna start flowing like wine, baby. $7 American. You can spend that stuff anywhere. I've been your most inappropriate host, Ren Jones. Thank you so much to the effervescent and well-mic'd Carolina Bermares and my well-lit friend from Canada, Jonathan Goodman. He's lit. It's gonna be lit, fam. He's lit city and speaking of stone-faced and not accepting any crackpot from anyone, our excellent producer here, Amber, who I just realized was the same Amber as the other Amber. I did not know this. I saw people referencing this Amber Bonham, and I was like, well, I only know Amber Reynolds. You know, how do I get in touch with the other Amber? Like, she never makes an appearance. It's like, is she hiding from me? And then, boom, mind blown, it's the same person. I feel like Superman, you know, Clark Kent took his glasses off right in front of me. It's just amazing.
Identity.
Anything to add to what's already perfection, Amber? Anything you like to share here? I'm sorry, Black Widow, Natasha, Miss Romanoff, whatever aliases you're going by, the Russian spy. What do you got for us this week?
I don't even know where to begin. That was
brilliant.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much, Amber. Again, your contribution to the podcast, always worth the wait. We'll see you guys next time on the Online Trainer Show. Somebody hit the jingle.
This is the Online Trainer Show. Trainer Show. Trainer Show. This is the Online Trainer Show. We shouldn't have a podcast.
So now that we're done that brilliant episode, tons of wisdom, of course, what I want to do is actually show you what happened before the episode. You might think that everything here, and we've certainly given off the idea and the image that everything here is perfectly well structured and perfectly well put together. But what you might not know is that right before the episode, we usually have a couple minutes to talk over what's going on. Now, we all thought that we were on the same page. Apparently, Ren was not. So here's what happened.
All right. Hey, welcome to episode 3 of the Online Trainer Show. Apparently, I talk first on these things. Who knew? I've only done 2 before today, so I'm totally lost as what's going on there. But you guys are in for a treat today, man. We got a special topic for you. But I'm going to let my main man, the 11-book aficionado, Jonathan Goodman, bring this thing into fruition for us. So let's kick off episode 3. We got some awesome stuff to talk about. Somebody hit the music or something. Let's get to these.
Ren, you start with the ad spots.
Oh, do I?
Yeah, you start with the 2 ad spots. Then I give the intro. Then we do the music, and then you start.
Somebody write that down.
It is in the podcast notes. There's the show and flow section. So
that's a thing?
It is. So we can. I'll send you the link real quick, and then do a quick look over, and we'll just redo that real quick.
Sweet.